If you work in quality control at a candy factory, you know strict safety regulations come with the job. It's why you partner with Grainger. Grainger helps you find the high-quality and compliant products your business needs to inspect, detect, and help correct issues. And the sweetest part is, everyone gets a product that's as safe to eat as it is delicious. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Hey everybody, it's CJ Graham, Jason Voorhees. That's right, Friday the 13th, Part 6. And you're listening to the scenesnobs.com.
Scram, McFly. We're checking out the Scene Snobs.
Welcome to the Scene Snobs podcast.
What's up, everybody?
Hi, everybody.
We are the Scene Snobs. I'm Nick Manhattan, of course.
And I'm the madman, Casey Plott.
And we are back again for another Tuesday night live session.
Lovely to see you all. Such a pleasure. Whether you're watching it live now or later, hi.
Hello to you. And I'm glad you can join us because we are actually, we're right in the middle of our Halloween Horrorfest. Scene Snobs Halloween Horrorfest. It's doing pretty good, I think.
Doing pretty well. Got a lot going on. Yeah.
Yeah, so we're getting there, and there's some stuff we're going to talk about today. We're going to have Frank Sabatella on the show. He'll join us. He's director of the Shed, which is on Shudder now. Go check it out. And we're going to be talking some horror topics.
Some exciting ones. I'm very excited to get into the Scream Queens one.
Yes, yeah, me too, for sure. I did have a couple of things to run by you before we get started and we bring Frank on. Did you happen? Well, we all know William Shatner is going to be going into space, right?
Yep.
With Blue Origin, which is Jeff Bezos's penis rocket ship company.
Well, I mean, it's such a great publicity stunt. Why wouldn't you?
Yeah,
it's brilliant.
Very true. And I did read a meme the other day that made me laugh. That was like, so they're sending William Shatner out to, Amazon is sending William Shatner to space. Is that a prime directive?
Yeah. Yeah, he's going to have to follow the prime directive, or is the prime directive?
Well, did you see what they put out today?
You know what? Yeah. So I got a few issues with this. Firstly, they look fantastic. They're wonderful uniforms.
Oh, yeah.
And it's really nice to see him not wearing a girdle and embracing his age. It's fantastic. That's
90,
good.
I feel like you have to.
Well, you don't have to do anything, buddy. Unfortunately, people can still be people. I do have an issue here. He is 90, and I don't see a single blue uniform. Why is there no medical technician going up with this man?
Well, it is in jest that this is done because all the uniforms are actually blue for Blue Origin.
Oh, well, that's different then.
Somebody went through and photoshopped the red and the gold in, and then they put it up a fake article of the rest of the Blue Origin's crew is a little concerned about their uniforms.
Nick, are you telling me that the internet lied?
I am referring to the internet having lied.
That is ridiculous. I don't believe any part of it.
Listen, there's some things that aren't true on the internet, Casey, and you need to learn that.
I just don't think that's real. I think that everything is real. Everything that's stated, once it's put out, it can be created and will be in some sort of alternative timeline. We're like in a really fucked up Sliders.
Yeah, that's for sure. We are in a fucked up Sliders. I will say so. I am very excited for what happens. I'm very excited about William Shatner going to space.
Oh, I was going to say, like, what do you mean? What are you waiting for? Are you waiting for something terrible to happen?
No.
Like, I'm really excited to hear this amazing story of he loses his fucking mind and it's like, this is what it's like. Fuck. It just, I don't know.
I do think that somebody on the ground crew, should dress up like a Gorn and like attack the ship when it lands.
I think it'd be great if someone put up a meme of we should all dress up like they did from Planet of the Apes when he gets back. And I fully support that.
That would be pretty funny.
Yeah.
I saw that meme too, but I wasn't sure because I'm like, does it work for Shatner though? Does the Shat work?
Yeah, everything works for Shatner. It's the Shatner. There's a thing on the fucking wing. I mean, come on. That made him famous. Freaking out on an airplane made him famous.
Yes, that is true. And actually, he did make a joke about that when they talked about Blue Origin. He said As long as I don't look outside the window and see something, we're all good.
Oh, well. Unfortunately for you, sir, you're going to see the curvature of the Earth. You're going to see something.
Yeah, I know. Hopefully he believes in the globe. So we are getting into Halloween. We've been celebrating with the horror movies, things like that, and they put out a pretty big trailer today.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if you had seen it, but I was going to play it for us here and then get first reactions if you hadn't seen it. And that is for Scream 5.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to play it, and then I want to talk to you about it.
Okay, we will do that.
Isn't funny, Amber.
Would you like to play a game, Tara?
Doors unlocked.
Technology.
All doors locked. Doors unlocked.
I mean, it looks like it wants to be good.
Hello?
But everything's frozen on your end, bro.
3
This
texts.
is
so
exciting.
far. You
I
have
love
a
this.
I'm Sydney Prescott. Of course I have a gun.
I don't know. It looks kind of
Something
good.
about this one just feels different.
It's a Scream.
What is this?
Samantha?
Oh, there's a guy.
I know who you are. I've been to this a lot.
All right, so I think that was Nev
This is your
Campbell.
life,
She's
which means that
talking.
whoever this is going to keep coming for you.
Yeah, they are. And then stuff might happen. Well, there we go. Oh, look at them both together at the same time. Oh, something happened, but we don't know. It's
Rules.
frozen. Is that David Arquette?
It taxable on people related to the original killers. Whatever is linked to your past.
People on a couch.
Pull itself back here.
Beware the people on the couch. Oh, wait, nope. There's
I won't
a
sleep until
mustache.
he's in the ground.
That's Nev Campbell. Fuzzy Nev Campbell. It's like 16-bit. Oh. Smash cut slashes. Maybe? That's what that was.
Let me take this out. So what did you think? Is it a win or is it a loss?
What, with Scream? I mean, it looks good. I mean, I think it's going to be good. I love Scream. You know that. Scream's fantastic. They can come up to Scream 76. I don't care. Keep going. It's just a matter of taking a serial killer and just, wanting to be famous. So at that point, you can just keep Ghostface alive.
Yeah, I guess it's true. I mean, I think we just need new blood. I mean, I'm kind of tired of Sydney Prescott, but I think that's what this is. I think this is going to be the passing of the torch, which is what the fourth one was supposed to be.
No, see, screw that, because I love Laurie Strode, and that woman can keep going. If she doesn't die in this one, let her keep on going. I am fine with it. I love her. And you know what? If Nev Campbell makes 72 more because she can, fucking do it. Go on, girl.
Yeah,
Courtney Cox should be killed. I think for the story's sake, and that's not like I dislike her, but I think Gail Weathers needs to be murdered.
See, at least like when Jamie Lee came back, it was 20 years after the first one. She came back to the character, and she came back 40 years after the first one.
Right.
Nev Campbell, it's been 25 years of Scream. That's a Scream every 5 years.
Great.
So, and Nev Campbell's been in every one of them as the star.
Yeah, and she could do 50 more.
You are ridiculous, sir.
Yeah, of course I am, but I think it'd be perfect.
I don't know about that. Come on, look at Courtney Cox. Now, not putting down Courtney Cox like her in a lot of stuff. She was fantastic on Family Ties.
Yeah.
Her biggest claim to fame, besides the Bruce Springsteen video,
Clearly, you know, honestly, that song came on the other day, and I immediately thought of her. I was like, well, yeah, that's who I think of. Dancing in the Dark. It's Courtney Cox dancing. That's it.
Yeah, I mean, that's true. Well, I think that was like her first foray into fame.
Yeah. I mean, there's that whole little stint she did on Friends.
What's that?
That little stint she did on Friends.
What's Friends?
It was a show, I believe a sitcom. Took place for about, I don't know, like 9 seasons or something.
God, yeah, I know. I can't remember. Ugh. Anyway, Ron Lippett's here.
Hi, Ron.
Ron says, taking a break from getting freaked out from The Conjuring to see my favorite snob.
The Conjuring is amazing, bro. It is really good. Super glad that that's what you're getting into.
You'd be very proud. He's watching it on my recommendation, and you're the granddaddy of that recommendation because you showed that movie to me first.
Yes, I did. Congrats. Oh, well, I'm so glad the kids are running about.
Stop after the first one, though. Casey will not agree. Corinne says, hi, guys. Hey, Corinne.
Hi, Corinne. Hey, Chaba. Hey, Jason.
Love you guys. I want to bring on our guests, but before I do, I want to talk about our topics tonight. So our topics are going to be, is the phrase Scream Queens handed out too easily? No. And then it's, what movie monsters aren't scary anymore? And can they be saved? And also maybe finish off with, what is scary in 2021? What do we consider scary? Like 20 years ago, of course, it was more, had the terrorist vibe of, you know, because of 9/11 and, you know, everything, all horror movies in that decade takes shape of whatever the most horrific thing or event was at the time. So what is it now? Is it COVID? Is it contagion? We'll talk about that. But I am very excited, in case I know you're very excited about the Scream Queens conversation, which I have a feeling is going to be the big one tonight. But I want to bring on a very special guest. Now, if you haven't seen it yet, go and watch The Shed. It's one of those horror movies that every time I watch it, I see something different as it goes on, and I'm always excited. It was one of my favorite movies from last year. I think it was on my list. And we have the director. We became friendly with him. He's a great guy, and we're very happy to have him back on the show. Mr. Frank Sabatella, what's up, buddy?
Hey, what's up, man?
How you doing, Frank?
Joining, man. Appreciate it. There you go, Frank Sabatella. And now I'm going to put this on so that way we all have our names in gooey orange muck.
Look at that cool, scary font you got going on. I like that.
I know, right? He got real fancy with it.
I was playing around today. I was like, if we're gonna have Frank on, we can't be like same old, just boring.
Playing around is also stressing out for 9 hours.
No, it did fine. Topics were picked. There was other stuff I was stressing out about, like the rest of the week's shows. This one I knew it would go well. So Frank, welcome to the show, man. You know I'm a fan of The Shed.
Yes, I appreciate that.
As am I, man. I freaking love it. Nick recommended it. I checked it out. It's so freaking good. Your spin on vampires was brilliant. No, I love it. That whole take on vampires basically being the monsters and animals that they are, but then after a given time, no, they can still fuck with your mind. They have ways. Like it was brilliant. It really unfolded
thanks,
well.
Man.
I loved it.
And we've had, if you go back and you talk to, you see my interview with Frank from, I think it was almost a year ago.
Mm-hmm.
I think I was on here twice already, and we did an interview, and then
you're a guy, man.
Back. I don't even remember. Time has been flying, but I've been here a couple times. I love it. It's always a good time.
I appreciate that, man. We love having you, and so I want everybody to go check it out. It's on Shudder. It's available everywhere. You can go check it out, but I have Shudder, so that's like my go-to for horror movies.
If you have Shudder, you can stream it for free.
Yeah.
But if you don't have Shudder, you can rent it anywhere you want.
Yeah, I primed it.
Cool.
Yeah, I always go right. Yeah, and Prime definitely has it because
they spelled my name wrong on Prime, and they have never fixed it. It's really annoying.
You know who didn't spell your name wrong in the creepy font?
That's right.
Screw you, Amazon. Don't kill Shatner.
Yeah, seriously, keep Kirk alive. That's the other part of this whole trip.
That's so much better of a hashtag. Don't keep Kirk alive. Jason Taylor's here. He's a big fan of the show. We're big fans of his. I've watched Scream trailer 5 times so far. I'm very excited. And you watched the Home Alone trailer. It doesn't look great. I agree. I do want to get into the first topic of tonight because I know we were really excited for this when we were talking about it. Is the term scream queens. It seems like every convention I go to, whenever I turn an interview on a female that has acted in a horror film is deemed a scream queen. It doesn't matter at what age. And I want to get your guys' feelings on this. I just think that it is overly used. You know, just because you're in a horror movie doesn't make you a scream queen.
I'm going to agree with you on that. I think that I think a lot of terms are overused these days, but scream queen to me evokes the idea of, if we're going to use the word queen, it means you've like ascended to a royal place, let's say. So I don't know if there's like a check, if there's going to be like a checklist of like, check. Okay, now you're a scream queen. But I would say like, if you're like a background player in a horror movie and you do scream once, that doesn't really make you a scream queen. I think a scream queen, we could think of the traditional women that we think of as scream queens. Jamie Lee Curtis, of course. Even though I'm not a fan of the Halloween series, don't kill me. I know this is controversial with people.
Hey, to each their own, man. Everybody's got feels.
Heather Langenkamp, I think, has earned her title. Daniel Harris, going back to Halloween again. She's amazing, not only in the Halloween films, but she does some very indie films. She's, everything. These are people that have earned the Scream Queen title. And also I think that it kind of gives them a little more street cred because horror wasn't really mainstream when they were coming through. When you go 80s and 90s, I mean, in my opinion, horror didn't really become mainstream until like 2010, 11, give or take. And I think that's caused the proliferation of the use of the word scream queen. Is that horror has become a mainstream phenomenon where it used to just be something that was, us weirdos were like, yes, horror, and like you had to dig for it a little bit. But now like everything is horror, which don't get me wrong, it's awesome.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
But I think because of that, we now have everybody's a scream queen.
Yeah, and I often feel too like when you go back, and a lot of fans today are going back and. All right. Since you had mentioned that not a big fan of Halloween, I'm gonna say an unpopular opinion amongst horror fans. I don't get the devotion to VHS. I remember how crappy the quality was. I mean, I get it; it's cool, nostalgic, or whatever, and I don't mind watching something on a VHS, but I know what I'm getting.
Well, it's nothing like that 8mm, buddy.
If I may weigh in on the VHS question. So I love VHS, and I think it's for a couple of reasons. There's the nostalgia factor for sure. It's nostalgic. Obviously, when you pop on a VHS versus like a 4K blue, a 2K transfer on a Blu-ray, clearly the Blu-ray wins, right?
Yeah. I mean,
when you grew up on VHS, though, it's all you had. You didn't know any better. So
exactly.
I still have my VCR set up, and I have a couple of my favorite horror movies on VHS. And every now and again, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to watch Nightmare on Elm Street on VHS again.
Yes.
And the act of putting the tape in and adjusting your tracking is such a fucking pain in the ass.
Dude, the tracking thing is murder. Whether you have a dial or the little numbers back and forth.
It's just fun. So that's part one. It's sort of
hopefully we didn't lose you.
Aesthetic elements of VHS that I truly love. That even though they're lower quality, some secret project I'm working on right now like involves sort of some VHS aesthetics. So like for me, it's like I feel like when we watched like Robert Rodriguez's Planet Terror, and he used the decaying of film in a interesting and mood altering way. He added scratches, and during the violent scenes, there were extra cuts, or there was more of a distortion in the image. I similarly think that is a cool aesthetic that can be used to your advantage in a storytelling filmmaking aspect. So that's my interest in VHS. I think things look cool that way, and I think it just harkens back to the idea of something being analog. And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, I think a lot of us like older horror lovers, I don't know how old you guys are, I'm 43, but some of us
38 in the wheelhouse.
That remember, the 80s. There's sort of this like love affair with like low budget TV and stuff that doesn't really exist anymore. Nothing's low budget anymore.
No, man. Even trying to watch like TV Land on Nick at Night, like those shows, like Barney Fife. I'm like,
It's
why is
Friends
Barney Fife
and
clear?
crap like that.
Right. But I'm talking like even like lower budget TV, like even Elvira's old show, or like corny like Man on the Streets, like when Elvira would do street interviews with people.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, or even Joe Bob's original show, Monster Vision at the Drive-In, etc. That was low budget television, and it had an aesthetic because it didn't have this like $1 million shine to it. And I feel like that is gone from TV. That is gone from movie. Like everything now has $1 million shine. Everything is 4K and everything is ultra HD and it's ultra sharp and it's ultra real and it's ultra beautiful, and that's great and it's cinematic and cool. But it takes away some of the personalness for me. I feel like I don't feel as personally connected to it as I could have in the 80s or 90s when there still was, NTSC was the television signal and things were lower budget. So I think there's, I don't know if I'm answering the question correctly, but I think there's something to be said for the VHS aesthetic. I think like anything else, it can be played out, and I think it's cool if you're using it for a purpose. Like I said, if you have an aesthetic reason to use it and convey an emotion or a feeling or a vibe, awesome. But if you just slap a VHS filter on something just to be like, look, now it's retro, not as cool.
Yeah, and I think any artist who does that and uses it properly, that's what art's for, man. That's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to find a way to express yourself and enjoy what you enjoy. And the fact that you do that so well and to portray it as well as you do, I'm excited for whatever secret project's going on. It's going to be awesome.
Yeah. Well, and I think like for that, I agree. Like if you're using it for a film and, that I got no problem with that. And I get that. I don't mind the look because it is nostalgic and drags you back. And I still have VHS back there that I'll pop on, especially the old Star Wars. So I could see Han shoot first.
Yeah, I have this. That's exactly right. That's why I have the Star Wars on VHS.
Yeah, so like, there's things that I do think like I like to be brought back into nostalgia, but there seems to be like this whole cult movement of VHS or nothing, and I'm like, you gotta adopt it. You gotta adopt some things. Like, I mean, you can't just strictly be. It's all about VHS because a lot of them are younger than VHS,
right?
And it's like, you don't remember what it was like having to rewind that, bring it back, things like that.
I think what that says, like when you see, a younger audience interested in VHS and stuff like that, I think it's partially because of what I said about things becoming mainstream, and the majority of people just are sort of posers, conformists, like they want to be part of the cool thing. Mm-hmm. So they're just like, yeah, VHS, yeah, 80s, and they don't really get it, but they just want to follow along, and that's cool. But I think there's the element where maybe some of these kids, when they see VHS, they're like, oh, that's such a cool, that's kind of a cool thing. Like, I know that there's like a movement. I'm a photographer also, so I know there's a lot of younger kids now that are shooting 35 millimeter film, and they don't have to, but they're doing it because it's like, oh, like, it somehow makes the process more personal to them. And I'd like to think, hopefully, some of the people, a small percentage of these younger kids that are getting into VHS and stuff like that are doing it for those genuine reasons,
Yeah, hopefully they're connecting with it. It's something that they're drawing from it. And, kind of the same way we still use oil paints, the way they did how many years ago. So everything still translates forward. So it's nice to see that. It's kind of cool. It's weird being in that transitional phase where we're the older group looking back going, oh, what? Why do they think it's cool? That stuff was a nightmare. Like, it was a pain in the ass.
Well, yeah, you're always going to find.
So it's a little different for us being on that precipice. It's kind of neat.
To back to Mick's point. So you have people today that are like nostalgic for what we experienced, 20 some odd years ago or more. But now it's like everything is becoming this sort of like regurgitated. Like, look at everything that's coming out. It's like another Scream, another Halloween, another a new Elvira show, another Chucky show. Like, so in 20 years from now, what are we going to do? We're going to be nostalgic for the nostalgic shit from like, you know what I'm saying? Like, how do we get out of this like cycle of regurgitating crap. Like, don't get me wrong, I love Chucky. I love, I think a lot of the stuff. Again, I'm not a Halloween fan, but I understand that that's exciting for a ton of people. If there was a new Friday the 13th, I'd probably be psyched for it. But how do we get beyond that, where it's like the reason we all like romanticize, I believe, the 70s, 80s, and maybe the early 90s, is because there was so much diversity and originality in horror.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That's why we love it. And so much awesome shit came out of those decades, to the point where 35, 40 years later, that's all we're still doing is cranking out those same things,
Yeah, and I think a big thing for me with that and seeing so much of it, like you said, regurgitated, it becomes a problem almost like comic books are facing. Like, fans won't accept new heroes being introduced.
Right.
So you have to just keep reinventing the same ones over and over again. And then, it just, you box yourself in, like, you were saying. And, this all stems from the Scream Queens conversation. And I kind of felt the same way with that, kind of going back a little bit to, we talked about Jamie Lee Curtis. Why did Jamie Lee Curtis earn that? Not even because of the Halloween movies, because her first 5 movies were Halloween, Prom Night, The Fog,
right.
Things like that. Like, she did Terror Train. Like, she did 5 horror movies that were, hits for the time.
Mm-hmm.
And that
she's like the horror Molly Ringwald in a sense.
Yeah, right.
It's a great point.
And
yeah.
I'm very into the aspect that Frank brought up earlier about the queens being an elevated position. It's something that, we as fans have given them. We have raised them up to that position because they've earned it. Linnea Quigley has done enough movies, died enough times, gone enough cool deaths. There's certain people who've just had enough either cool deaths or great victories, and they deserve that. And we as fans give them that, so kind of, you're right that the Scream Queen is overused because it's such a draw, but that's the way terms get used now. Unfortunately, social media kills things. It burns them out.
Right.
Everything burns out so fast, and
everything gets
Scream
stuck
Queens
into
is
the
the next
black hole of popularity.
Mm-hmm.
I call social mediocrity, because that's what it does. It turns everything into mediocre sludge,
average,
and then we continue to regurgitate it. And you're also right. Like, is there room for something brand new? Every now and again, what can I think? Terrifier, right? For some reason, those guys are friends of mine that made the movie. It blew up for some reason. Everybody loved. I don't mean disrespect when I say for some reason.
No, I get it. But whatever caught people.
How do you know? You
Mainstream,
know what I'm saying? Like, but Art the Clown just became this new, cool, iconic thing, and it's like, whoa. Like, is he as iconic as Freddy or Jason right now? No,
not yet.
But I think we all know who Art the Clown is, and we know the Terrifier films. They're making another one that's coming out. You know what I'm saying?
That's
so
awesome.
It's like you can sort of capture. I think you can't do it on purpose, but when you do, when you dare to non-conform, when you dare to do the thing you want to do, you may be rewarded with that success.
Yeah, I agree with that point completely. Yeah. I think some movies that actually point directly at it as well, like Final Girls, for me was one that pointed directly at it and kind of tongue-in-cheeked it, and that was perfect. That was great. I appreciate that aspect of it when you take it and put it on its head. Any trope, because there are so many to use, just break them, mess with them, play with them. That's the whole point of horror. It has a whole lot of room. Go play. I think it's great.
Yeah, and a big part of that for me, new horror, and we were kind of, this was another sort of topic when we kind of meld everything together. I kind of purposely did that so that way they all kind of worked in a certain way.
He worked his segues really well.
Yeah, well, so I didn't have to do terrible segues. I was like, I'm going to work every topic so they kind of meld in. But like the movie Monsters, where we're talking about like what isn't scary anymore and can they be saved? Or like what's scary in 2021. I think that all kind of works together. And you as a filmmaker, I got to imagine those are questions you ask yourself when you're writing a new project.
Constantly, I'm trying to figure out like what's going to work. I have this constant fear of going stale with my creativity.
Yeah.
And it all, I think any creative experience is like imposter syndrome and, I come on here and you guys are like, I fucking love The Shed and everything. And I'm like, that's awesome. In my mind, though, I'm like, The Shed is fucking old news. It's like it's stale. I have to do something better and cooler and newer. You know what I'm saying? Like, so it's really awesome to hear that validation from people, but it doesn't save me now. Tomorrow, when I have to sit down and be like, all right, what the hell am I writing? I can't be like, but The Shed was awesome. Like, you know,
super stoked I did that.
yeah. So to Mick's point, you know, I'm constantly trying to, like, for me, I have like, it's like I have 1 foot in the past and 1 foot in the future. Because I have to be the sum of my influences. It's not my choice. It's just how an artist works. I believe you're the sum of your influences. So my mission, I think, is to take all these things that were influential to me, put them through the Frank Sabatella filter, and spit them out into something digestible for today. Right. So I don't want to just regurgitate. Like, I am in love with slasher films. I adore slasher movies. I want to write another slasher movie. I did a slasher film called Blood Night, which was like the slasheriest slasher ever, and for better or for worse.
Extra slashy.
I want to do another slasher film, but I know that I can't just do a sort of. I wouldn't even want to just do like a paint by numbers slasher film. I want to like take what I love about slasher films, move it into today while respecting what was done in the past. And it's not about recreating. I'm not trying to create a new Jason or a new Freddy. I just want to tell an awesome story that I love. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. You know, I feel like every time I'm on your show, Mick, I babble on about Sleepaway Camp because it is one of my favorite slashers. So
yes.
It's like, how would I make the new Sleepaway Camp for today without just ripping off Sleepaway Camp, but having the elements of the slasher aspects that I love, and giving it to an audience today? Because I don't want to. Something that's very popular right now is having these political themes, segue into your film. And
a lot of them.
There's not anything necessarily wrong with that. The critics love to talk about that shit, and probably financiers love to be like, "Oh my God, this is culturally relevant
in line
topic," and you know that's great. But for me, the films are escape, especially horror films. That's my escape from all this stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't want to I'm force-fed politics through the news and through TV and through social media. I don't want to go to the movies and be, preach that as well. I want to just see a good horror movie. I want to be entertained. I want to forget about everything outside of the movie for a couple hours, and then I'll go back to the bullshit. I don't want to sacrifice entertainment for the political theme. You know what I mean?
I agree 100%. I mean, that was actually one of the things that The Shed did very well, was not have anything over your head. It was just a great character film. It was a great developed film. It was paced very well. That's why it was entertaining at the end of the day. You know what I'm saying? It took me away from all the crap that's going on and gave me the full movie runtime of a different world, a different experience. And that's what we go to the movies for. That's why I love horror. You're supposed to get away from it.
That's a beautiful thing about horror too. And it works with The Shed. It works with so many other movies. That there are subtext there because every writer writes pieces of themselves and what they're thinking at the moment. And
totally.
We talked about that in our interview where you were saying The Shed is a representation of him keeping everything in.
Totally.
And I love that. And when you told, I didn't see that. Now I've seen it since then when I watched the movie, but I didn't see that at first. And that whole underlying theme woke me up to this whole new movie and the chaos at the end that ensues. And I love seeing that in movies. I think one of the funniest ones that happened to us, because we recently did a panel with John Russo from Night of the Living Dead back in July, and we grew up hearing like, oh, they were rebels of the time. They cast a black man as the hero, and John Russo's like, no, we cast Dwayne Johnson. He was just the best person for the job.
He was the best actor, yeah.
He was like he nailed it, and he was Ben. It wasn't a matter of like trying to do this message. We were trying to tell a movie about, they didn't even call them zombies at the time.
Right.
And so to look back at that and see like what kind of, I don't, for lack of a better term, what seeps in when it's written. Like maybe you don't know that's the message you're trying to tell of the time, but like
sometimes you don't.
Yeah, and I gotta imagine when you're writing too. And let's go back to slashers real quick because I love them. But when you're writing a slasher film, is there a part of you that's like, all right, I need to make an interesting character, or are you just like story, or how does it work for you?
It's like all of it. Like the first draft for me is a living hell because it's like you're just getting all this stuff out, and once you finally like you're getting everything out, you're like, all right, I want a cool character, and I want a cool story, and I want cool people involved, and I want cool death scenes, and I want a cool series of events. So you're like throwing the kitchen sink at it. And then you're like, okay, but now I have to like make something out of this mess, because to tell a good story, you need all of that. You need a good story. You need a good plot. You need good characters. You need iconic moments. You need good visuals. So you're thinking about those things as you progress, and you just kind of can't do it all at once. So even like if somebody was to read the first draft of The Shed, it's like radically different than the movie we ended up shooting, because it continued to evolve. I didn't like all the stuff that we were just talking about, that, you know, it's everything Stan is keeping inside himself, and that it's the manifestation of all that. Like, I didn't even realize that till like the fourth draft. It didn't even occur to me. And then once that occurred to me, I was like, oh, fuck, duh. And then I like was able to like make a better movie out of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's just you continue to have these revelations that, I don't know. It just kind of keeps going. That's why, like, the most classic thing you'll hear any writer say: great scripts aren't written; they're rewritten, and you have to continuously. You're just, for me, writing a good script is trying to figure out what the hell I'm talking about. Like, that's constantly what it is. So, and until I figure that out, I'm just like shuffling things around, trying out cool new things. You know, there was so much stuff in the original version of The Shed that it's gone now, and I'm like, thank God I didn't keep any of that in there, because it was just like baloney, you know, like, just, I can't even think of examples, but just, there was just a lot of that subtext like didn't even exist yet. It was just events happening, and you don't want that. You want everything to mean something. You want every single thing to lead to the next thing, so it tightens and tightens and tightens. Everything's connected.
You know, it's funny you mention that too, because I was just watching something earlier where M. Night Shyamalan was talking about The Sixth Sense and Bruce Willis' character being dead. If you haven't seen it, that's your fault.
But we've made that joke way too many times for
anyone.
And he had said, he was like, you know, I wrote the first draft, then I wrote the second draft, third draft, and he's like, it wasn't until like the fourth or fifth draft that I discovered while writing it, Bruce Willis is dead. Oh my God, he's been writing this the whole time,
right?
And didn't even realize it until that draft. And it was like, this made it so much better once it was realized. So, it's true. It's crazy.
You have those eureka moments like late in the game. You know, they don't happen during the first draft. And I think that's, for me, that's what makes first draft so difficult for me, is because I'm not excited about the first draft. Mm-hmm. You know, I might have an idea like the slasher film I'm trying to write now. I have an idea for it. I have some aesthetic concepts. I have no idea what the fuck it is yet. Like, I know where it is. I know sort of what happens, you know, like it's a mess. If somebody was to look at what I'm working on right now, they're like, are you sure you're a professional filmmaker? You've made movies before? Like,
I just got a lot of circles on paper. It's getting there. I promise.
You know? That's the process for me, and I wish somebody would hand me a script and be like, I have this awesome script, would you please direct it? I would love that. You know,
yeah,
save me the trouble of writing and banging my head against the wall for a year, you know.
Well, it leads me to ask you too, like, okay, so when you wrote The Shed, which was a few years ago now, I think you started years ago.
I started it in 2000 I think I started it.
Yeah, and I remember you telling me how like it came about until you came up to filming. So when you're writing something like that, and you're with what you're writing now, how much of how horror movies have changed throughout that time when you're writing? Are you like, all right, now I realize the climate has changed, and this is scarier now than it was 5 or 10 years ago, and you add to what you're writing currently?
I think that's actually a really good question.
Thank you.
I think I don't necessarily follow along with like what the current trend is. Of course, I want the movie to feel current and on point, but I think, you know, when a script starts taking that many years and you're going through so many revisions, I think you're just naturally evolving it. Like I can remember movies that I watched. I'm trying to think of a couple of movies I saw. Like in between drafts of The Shed, I would see a couple of movies and be like, oh, I like that tone. Can I use that element of tone in The Shed? Like I think a couple of newer movies that influenced me when writing The Shed was The Loved Ones. If you saw that, 2000.
Yeah.
What was that? 2010 maybe. I hadn't seen it till late, and I saw it. And I was like, oh, I'm like, obviously they're two completely different movies, but there were just ways elements were done that I was like, maybe I can work a sort of feeling like that at this moment. And Dead Girl was another one that I had seen. And, I don't want to sound like I ripped off these movies. I didn't, but you're the sum of your influences. So when something strikes you in a way, Super Dark Times was another film that I was like, oh, the vibe of these characters is what I'm after. Mm-hmm. So you start taking influence and you just continue to build it and just put it out there. So I don't know if that answers the question. I have a tendency to sort of ramble around things.
No, I think that answers it great because it's very much so that it's throughout our lives. We're influenced by so many different things and we take so many different parts. That's how we become humans. We fake certain things or we change different elements or we see something in someone and go, oh, that's freaking great. I would like to do that. I would like to be a nicer person. How the fuck do I do that? Exactly. So through art, we do the same thing. I mean, that's why there are impressionist phases. That's why there's different people with different groups and different phases because everybody goes, hey, I like this, but I'm going to tweak it and make a little bit of mine. So
I think when you look at to kind of circle this back into our neighborhood of what's scary in 2021, right? Isn't that where we are?
That's what I think. Yeah.
Well, we've got all over, but that works.
We'll figure it out. It's fine.
Oh, I'm enjoying it. It all. That's why it all kind of like flowed together. I think so. It's nice.
Yeah, I think this is going to sound weird too. When I make a horror movie, I'm not necessarily thinking about the scares. I'm thinking about what's a good story now? You know what I mean? Because some could say some people have said The Shed is not scary. And it's like, maybe it's not scary. It's not going to, like some people, it's not going to scare you the way The Conjuring scares you, But I think I'd like to think it's a good story and you're compelled by the story. So you feel the horror and you get the jump scares, which are fun and the scary moments. But the point of my story was not to terrify you. It's just to entertain you. In a dark genre sense, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, you fucking nailed it because that's exactly what it does. It has enough of a few points where he jumps out and tries to reach out through the shed. You're waiting for it at some point. Of course, it's going to happen. You show that. It's beautiful. Sure. I mean, it's done the way it's supposed to be done, but it's a great story. You're invested in the characters, and that's what fucking matters. If you can't invest in the characters in a movie, you don't care. And if they die, sometimes you cheer for that. I turned to House of Wax. In that remake, I was excited for everyone's death. You shouldn't be excited for everyone's death. You should want to care a little bit about somebody because it makes you want to watch it again. It makes
even going back to slashers, eventually you're rooting for the slasher.
Oh my gosh. How many times in Jason am I like, just murder them all?
In part 1, you want them to get away. By part 5, you like, get those motherfuckers.
Do you have more hatchets? That's it.
What's that popular meme now that's like, I used to be afraid of Jason and cheer for the teenagers, and then I got older and realized that I'm cheering for Jason now.
Every time.
Jason becomes a hero, exactly.
Those damn kids.
We did touch down on Felissa Rose earlier, and I do want to ask you guys what you think, because she is very much labeled a scream queen.
Oh, is.
I disagree.
Okay,
and
I'll fight you.
Here's why. Angela's an iconic killer. So I wouldn't label her a scream queen. I put her on the side of Michael Myers and Jason and Freddy.
Yeah, she's not a scream queen.
Yeah, holy shit, you're right. Yeah, she's a killer. Fuck yeah, she's a killer.
She may not be a killer in other movies that she's in, like we saw her in Bloody Summer Camp. And she, I don't want to give anything away there, but she wasn't the killer. We'll give that piece.
Whoa. Too far.
And she did a great job in that. And I like that, she's embraced horror and gone with it. But like, go back and Angela is an iconic 80s killer.
Right. So I guess, the question is, does the term scream queen mean she's the queen of final girls in a sense? Because if you look at Heather Langenkamp, Danielle Harris, of course Jamie Lee Curtis, they're all like the iconic final girls. So the scream queen, is it just a term like, is it just that you're a woman that's in many horror movies?
I think absolutely.
Like maybe that's the angle why Felissa Rose would be called a scream queen, because she's. Yeah. I think she would be worthy of queen status, so to speak.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
I tend to put
Adrienne
her in
Barbeau.
status.
Adrienne Barbeau, right?
Oh, Adrienne Barbeau, yeah, 100%. My biggest thing is, so like you take a Tiffany Shepis. She's been in 150 movies, and 90% of them are horror. Yeah. She's well known in the industry, almost like Leanna Quigley, or Chris Sales actually says Quigley and Barbara Crampton. Yeah, they are, because they went into the film industry, they adopted horror as their go-to, and they've stuck with it. And to me, that's like, yeah, Jamie Lee Curtis gets the Scream Queen because she started it. Like, and Halloween.
To that point, Mick, I just want to point out, this is something I've experienced multiple times in all my films. Like sometimes, like I have cast an actress, Samantha Hahn, in a few of my films. She was in Blood Night. She was in some of my Halloween shorts, which I just sent to you recently. And I love casting Samantha whenever I can. But I've had other actresses that I've worked with, and I've been like, hey, would you like to be in this other film that I'm doing? And a lot of times you hear, my agent doesn't want me doing more horror movies. And you lose a great actress, in my opinion, or I lose a great actress because an agent has advised them against horror. And that's it. But, some of them go on to nothing. And it's like, you could have been in a bunch more movies, you know what I mean? But like, so I think also to the credit of Jamie Lee Curtis, Barbara Crampton, Tiffany Shepis, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, let's give these women credit because they also are like, yeah, I'll keep doing horror movies. I don't mind,
Yeah,
like,
they committed to something they loved more than the money, because you weren't making money in any way, shape, or form doing these, especially in those years. You know what I'm saying? It was the love of doing it. It was just pressing forward, and it was fantastic. And it was work.
Yeah, and for me too, like going back and thinking about that, just from a casting standpoint, just from my time working in the industry, you do see a lot of horror. Of course, we all know this isn't any secret, is looked down upon in the industry. Totally. Even though, let's face facts, it pretty much pays for the industry.
It's just a moneymaker.
It's a moneymaker, and it allows artists to actually play in a giant field. You get to play and do stuff and create a story. And so many more stories are created. They're done better. These are better stories being put on, and not lower grade, cheaper. It's just 100%. That's what it is. It's just done with less money and more love. And it comes across, That's why you can appreciate horror movies more.
Majority of famous directors, producers, and actors started in horror. At the very least started. Tom Hanks, probably the biggest actor in the world. His first movie was a horror movie. And I still say The Burbs. It wasn't The Burbs. So all the horror fans out there listening or watching, no, I'm not saying The Burbs was his first movie.
What was his first horror movie? I don't even know.
He Knows You're Alone. He played the best friend of the final girl. It's actually a pretty good little movie. You should check it out. It's from 1980. And we were talking about movies like that back in the day. Like even John Carpenter. John Carpenter's first horror movie wasn't Halloween. It was, I believe it was called Someone's Watching Me. And that was starred Laura Hutton. And it was a TV movie. And it was very much a slash. It had the slasher formula before it was called slasher.
Back to a point I was saying before about like low budget TV and stuff. I really miss made for TV horror movies.
Oh my God, they were so great.
Dude. So good.
I miss. That's the only part of television that I miss, because now we're pretty far disconnected. I think we've removed ourselves from the traditional television watching.
Yeah,
across the board.
Mm-hmm.
So that means we've lost that. We have lost the big networks, which is a good thing because fuck big networks. But the same token, it's sad because then we lose out on that kind of.
We'll
movie.
take. I think I mentioned this to you on one of the other times I was on, Mick. The Midnight Hour, ABC's Halloween horror film, is awesome.
Oh yeah, and and going back to what we're talking about, like VHS, like see that's something I miss. Like I'll watch a VHS. I don't long for it. Like I said, a lot of people do. Just because it is like I kind of dig streaming. Like I can stream.
Sure. I love streaming.
You know, like
I can
right? Put on whatever movie I want.
I have a massive DVD and Blu-ray library, and like sometimes like I'll literally be like, I totally want to watch The Gate, and I'm like, but it's on DVD, and I would have to walk over there and then walk over there, so I'll just watch something else instead. Like, you know, like
once you got the command center set up, bro, you don't want to move. You're done.
Yeah.
You're in.
Like, or I could just use my thumb and watch something else. You know,
brilliant with the monkeys one.
I think the part of VHS that I long for is the aesthetic, if when used properly.
Yeah, agreed. And I will say that the part I miss is the friendship, the kinship that was always created around hanging out with all the people, all your friends when you got that one video.
Culture.
And you go over to your buddy's house because they've got it. So you pop it in as a group. That's what I miss most.
Even the culture of being at the rental spot or like in a Tower Records. Similarly, I used to just run into cool people and just be like, "Oh, cool. Hey, man, what's up?" Like, and never see that person again, and that's fine. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like you bullshitted about Friday the 13th Part 5 for 3 minutes, and it's like, all right, take care, man. Like, there's just a culture to it, and that's gone.
Yeah, that's the real sad part. Like Mick and I both worked in the video stores, and it was awesome. It was such a great experience to meet people and just be part of people's lives for 5-10 minutes, have a great conversation and carry on and kind of bond over that. And that it really sucks that that's gone. And it's weird and it's a bummer that social media hasn't picked up that slack and we haven't found a way to create that bridge. I'm sure we'll get there. Way smarter than people than us are working on it.
I think when it comes to VHS, I feel like that's the issue that a lot of people are longing for. It's not so much the quality to watch, it's the connection we had when we were younger of I'm going to the video store, my friends are going to be there. But like, we told the story last night. We were on another show guesting, and I told them like how in high school my buddy had to get Cannibal Holocaust from a copy from India.
Nice.
He got it, brought it over to my buddy's house. All 5 of us are sitting there like, we're going to watch this movie that's completely outlawed. Because in our heads, even if it wasn't, it was to us. Like, it's outlawed. Right. He had to get it from India. And we watched it, felt very weird about it afterwards, and had to play NHL 96 all night,
I had 2 buddies. We loved horror movies, and there was this VHS store we used to go to, a rental spot in our town. And the guy would not let us rent Faces of Death. We would try and try and try. And he'd be like, no way, you guys are 12 years old. Get the fuck out of here. And then one day, I don't even remember how. I don't know if it was somebody else behind the counter or something, but they let me rent Faces of Death. I got my buddies, and I was like, I got it. And we went back to my friend's house, and it was like this glorious screening of Faces of Death on VHS.
Yes. Oh, that's the best, bro.
For so long, and
and that was
such
like
a great feeling.
Growing up with that, like I had 2 older brothers who, my oldest brother is like 6 years older than me, so he's watching Faces of Death when I'm like, what had happened in it? It's so amazing. And he won't tell me, and he's like, yeah, you're never going to see it. Like, it's outlawed everywhere. And I'm like,
still haven't seen it to this day.
And there's always stories of that going on and on. And I do feel bad for this generation. That's why I say, like, maybe don't long for the nostalgia. Find ways to connect.
Right.
And I think COVID really helped with that. And
make your own things become nostalgic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Right. Like do watch parties where you guys can chat. Like
a buddy of mine, he will every couple of months he'll throw a VHS fest at his house, and he's got an awesome TV set up and a screen. So he'll just invite a bunch of us over, order some pizzas, get some beer, and just pop on some horrible, horrible movies. And it's fun. Like, we're not even interested in the movies. We're just
it's the hangs, man.
It's the hangs, exactly.
That's what you need, I think. I think that's what needs to be adopted more and more. And younger generations don't really know what that is. They don't know what those parties are. So they have to be invited.
And unfortunately, we've had this interruption, and we have to accept the fact that COVID created a massive rift. There is a timestamp now, the same way that 9/11 was a timestamp on the way our lives lived versus the way our lives are lived now going forward. So I just hope we're able to continue moving forward with the technology age that isn't hurting people, that we're able to create more bonds and able to build more, because it's way more important. There's a lot of cool shit with a lot of smart people and a lot of fun people, a lot of brilliant people. You know, Frank, you're one of them. Mick's one of them. You guys are brilliant. And it's wonderful to see you continue creating. Yeah, the three go, the age of the three go. This is our third year. He's got the three go going on. His fucking head's too fucking huge. But anyway.
So, Frank, we had our 2-year anniversary last week's episode.
Cool.
So we've decided that it's the 3 go, where I just gain an ego and that's it. Like we're the best there is.
I like it.
I'm Ric Flair in this, man. I don't even care. We are winding towards the end. Of course, like always, we didn't exactly touch down on the topics, but I think we had a great conversation.
Can I throw in one little bit about the what's not scary anymore?
Yeah, absolutely. Go ahead. I'm not done.
Creature of the Black Lagoon was one of my fucking favorites growing up. Okay. And the idea that there's a still unmapped place with some kind of creature like that existing, the fact that no longer could be real hurts my soul. Google fucked me.
I disagree with you there. I'm going to disagree with you because I think it could be very real. We're discovering new species all the time.
Yeah, unfortunately, they're insects.
In the Black Lagoon.
It could mutate.
Right, something could mutate. There's like constant oil spills.
Right. There's just all kinds of shit, man. Give it another 10 years, this place is going to be fucked.
Right. Global warming. Who knows what kind of weird fucking creatures that's going to create, you know?
Actually, that's fair. Let's start making new creatures.
Seas are rising in some places, so like who knows what weird, bizarre creature is going to emerge.
Yeah, and honestly, like, the Shape of Water proved anything. We do want more of that.
Yeah, true. I mean, but after Fukushima, if we didn't get Godzilla after Fukushima, he ain't real. Sorry.
I think we could tie what's not scary into 2021. What could be scary in 2021? So I just want to quickly say, like lightning round. I think zombies are not scary anymore. I've sort of never found them scary, whether they're slow, especially if they're slow zombies. Sorry, Romero, I love you. I feel like I could like bust out some quick pivots and spin moves and like get away from like a slow moving zombie easily.
Right, you just push them.
Fast moving zombies, I just find it very hard to believe that the United States Army could not dispatch of them very quickly. Right. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like if they really put their minds to it, they're like, all right, we got zombies, we got to fucking house these motherfuckers. Let's do it.
It fucking work.
Zombies don't scare me anymore. What I do think would become scary for 2021, I almost feel like it's going back to the strange basics, because I think 2021 we're coming back into a sort of visual and imaginative place. And I think that like government and news and media is so structured and real and blah, 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 where it's like, I think it opens up a space in horror where it could be, we can go back to like very weird shit happening, you know, like non-reality based horror, like we had in the 80s and 90s, like weird stuff, like
giant fucking
ants. Well, sure. Fine. I mean, that's like nuclear age. But like I'm thinking of like The Gate or like like The Void, like anything like time warp stuff, or like even going back to your basic slasher, like a psychotic murderer is always fucking scary.
Always. Crazy hillbillies? Who isn't fucking scared being lost in the woods? Come on.
Right. Exactly.
I do want to say this though, because we were talking about The Shed, and Frank, we had talked about this, and I 100% agree with it. It needs double feature treatment. And we're all Joe Bob fans here.
It should be double featured with Near Dark.
Yep, and I actually put that up. Near Dark and The Shed should be a double feature on The Last Drive.
I agree.
100%. This should happen right here. These two, love these, need to come together and be a thing. Make it happen, Last Drive, and let's do this.
Make it happen. Talk to all the fans.
This is our message. This is our message to Joe Bob and Darcy. This is the double feature we all need.
Wait, I need a screenshot of that. Keep that up. That's a beauty.
So I'm saying it. Let's do it. I want the hashtag now. Hashtag DF near shed.
I like it.
Near shed.
It's bad, but we'll get it figured out.
Don't
if you guys can come up with a better one, go for it. I come up with Snob Horrorfest. I mean, I don't know anything.
No, it works. It gets the point across. It's efficient.
I do want that, though. I want that vampire double feature. I want Near Dark and The Shed. Either way, I actually would prefer The Shed first. Because I think that they both have very similar tones.
I'll take it any way I can get it.
There you go. Yep.
Well, I with The Shed, for me, it's almost like it would be like growing into it. I think like The Shed starts off with a teenager, all hell breaks loose, and then you go right into Near Dark, where it's like this young guy, teenager almost, and he gets this crazy vampire crew that comes in. So anybody who hasn't seen knows.
Near Dark. So before Near Dark it's now on Shudder, but up until then, the only way you could see Near Dark was on VHS, and I still have my Near Dark VHS.
Oh, for real? Are those for sale anywhere?
I think I got it at like a garage sale or some shit like that, like a couple years back.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Do have a question from one of our good buddies. Chris says, how do you feel about rehashing old stuff like with modern tech, like Bluetooth Chucky or drone poltergeist?
I didn't really love the new Chucky all that much. And is drone poltergeist a real thing? Did that happen in the remake? I don't know.
Yeah, they sent like a drone into the thing so they could kind of see what's going
on. I don't know. I think it's stupid. Like I'm more like no, whatever. I'm sorry. No offense.
No. Don't apologize.
It is
stupid. I just love the answer.
It's dumb. I think it's tough to have the technology bridge.
Yeah, it's just because if like Chucky's a Bluetooth thing, I don't know, take his fucking batteries out or something. Like the original Chucky ran with no batteries because he was possessed by the soul of a serial killer.
Exactly.
That's cool and fucking scary.
Right.
It's like, oh, his chip malfunctioned and now he wants to kill you. Like he's not Hal from 2001: Space Odyssey.
I'm sorry, Dave.
So and again, going back to my point, like I want to see original shit. Like if you want to do a drone going into a poltergeist thing or whatever, then make your own scary drone movie. It doesn't have to be poltergeist. Like stop bastardizing the past. You know.
Yeah.
Right. There's other ways to talk about living on the Indian burial ground. You can be scarier elsewhere.
Right. And I'm not wholly against remakes. There are some remakes that I love, that I absolutely love.
I thought Amityville was amazing.
Dawn of the Dead. Which one?
Amityville Horror. I mean, I thought it was fantastic.
I like the Amityville Horror remake. I did actually. Dawn of the Dead remake I thought was great. You know, like there's a bunch of them out there that I really dug. But I want to see give me Terrifier again. I didn't even love Terrifier. Don't tell my friends. I didn't even love it. But I was like, it's totally original. We haven't seen it in this way. They did cool shit, like, and they just like went for it. And I was like, you know what I love about it? It's not a remake. It's just like, oh, this is awesome. You know?
Yep, agreed.
I've actually been a proponent for like what they did in 2018 Halloween, where it's like, all right, we're just taking the first one, we're scrapping the rest, and we're going to create this story from there and where this goes. And for me, it's like if you're going to bring back these characters, and I think they've always kind of done it with Chucky, where they always continued the storyline, which I respected that. And they're doing that with the show now. If you're going to do that and you're going to keep them alive, then just keep their story going.
I agree.
Yeah.
You know,
I'd rather a Friday the 13th sequel than a Friday the 13th remake.
Absolutely, 100%. I don't need another origin story. I'm tired of origin stories. I don't need to fucking know how this person came about.
Yeah,
Just show them doing what they're doing.
Explain that, I don't even know, some weird genetic material exists in Jason that allows him.
Well, for me, for me though, like you get into.
You got magic blood.
Like Tommy McLaughlin, who directed Part 6 of Friday the 13th, which is my favorite in the series, he said, like, I have a script. I'm ready to go. Like, we can continue this. And it's going to count for everything else. Like, it's not just going to count from 6.
Right.
He's like, let's do it. Because he respects that franchise. And for me, it's like, that's what you need to listen to. Because that's what the fans truly want.
Totally.
Yeah, done with Origins, unless it's a brand new character, and Chris thinks the same thing. You hear that, Spider-Man? We know already. I dig it. I do want to say thank you, though, Frank, for coming on and talking to us. You know you're allowed on anytime. We always have a great time.
My pleasure.
Frank, you're awesome, man. Thank you so much. Really appreciate the time.
Next time we are going to have you on, we're going to talk about only romantic comedies, though.
Yes.
Okay.
Must love dogs. I'm so in the mood right now.
I'll do some research in the rom-com realm.
So even though we're pushing for the double feature right now, is there anything that you want to promote you have going on? Or
I do want to promote, going back to VHS, do you guys know the film Boarding House?
No.
I'm not familiar.
It's the first shot-on-video horror movie ever. In 1982, it was shot on beta, and then it was blown up to 35 millimeter for a theatrical run in 1982, and then it kind of faded into obscurity. I am now the license holder of Boarding House, along with a partner, and we resurrected the film. I found the only existing 35 millimeter print of it still, and we teamed up with Vinegar Syndrome, Agfa, and Bleeding Skull to release it on Blu-ray this month for the first time ever in this format, and it's just absolutely nuts. So I think if you've heard of Boarding House, you can now get it on Blu-ray. You can pre-order it now through Vinegar Syndrome, but it hits the streets October 26th. And I think if you haven't seen Boarding House, you should, because it's just absolutely batshit crazy. It's so lo-fi. It's like your mom and dad decided to take your home video camera and make a weird slasher movie.
Holy shit, that sounds amazing.
Yeah, so I
definitely
want to point that out to people, that's now available from Vinegar Syndrome. And what else do I want to promote?
Do me a favor, send me the links to this.
Okay.
So that way we can put it in the description, so everybody go pick up Boarding House, and we're also going to promote it on the Scene Snobs for you.
I'll send you links to the Vinegar Syndrome. We did some cool merchandise for it. It's a lot of fun. It's as 80s as it gets. And it's the only horror movie it's the first one to be shot on beta, which launched the whole home video revolution.
Yep.
And it's the only one to have been blown up from beta to 35 millimeter for theatrical. And nobody's ever seen the theatrical print unless they saw it in the theater in 1982. And that's what we're releasing.
That's incredible.
Vinegar
really cool. Righteous. I love really this cool. Restoration projects are fantastic.
I'll DM them to you, the links.
Oh, yeah. It's all going in the descriptions, everybody, so you can go pick up a copy. Make sure to check it out. Make sure you go check out The Shed. Like you said, it's available for rent anywhere, or you can go check if you have Shudder, just watch it there. I think on Amazon it's free, too. If you have Prime, you can just watch it.
If you have Prime, I think you can watch it, yeah.
Yeah, and it's worth the watch. It's a great vampire film. I loved it. And so much more. I don't want to just pigeonhole it to it's a vampire film. It's so much more than that.
No, it's a real decent
story. My favorite description of it, somebody said it was Fright Night meets A River's Edge. And I was like, that is fucking awesome. Because A River's Edge is one of my favorite films. And I was like, that's the best thing anyone's ever going to say about the movie.
That's amazing. I love that. You should put that on the thing. This description.
If I was in charge of what they put on the DVDs and stuff, that would be on.
Damn.
They're like, shut up! You just made the movie. Don't tell us how to sell it.
That's our job. We got that covered.
We don't want to know. That's why they spelled your name wrong.
Exactly.
Damn you, Prime.
Every time you make a suggestion, we're going to spell it different. We're going to put another letter at the end of your name.
Oh, look, Frank with an E. There you go.
Sabatella? No. Of course, it's Frank Sabatella. Thank you again for being on the show, my friend.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Appreciate it.
Always have a great time.
We'll do it again soon.
Absolutely. We'd love to have you on, especially promoting it real quick now. We have Real Combat's going to be live tomorrow, everybody. Remember, Real Combat is a show where two people come on. They each bring a movie, and they have to convince me why I should watch theirs. So check it out. It'll be 7:30 tomorrow, live here on the Scene Snobs. Hopefully we can get Frank on there someday. But we have a great... that'd be awesome. But until then, everybody remember to follow, subscribe, all our stuff. And, we love you, and we will talk to you guys later.
Thank you very much. Be good to each other. Be well.
Peace.
Thanks for watching, everybody. I'm Mick Manhattan, the Scene Snob, and you can check out the Scene Snobs podcast live every Tuesday at 9 p.m. Eastern, or you can check it out on any podcast platform or our YouTube channel anytime after that. Thank you to our Patreon supporters. Without you, this wouldn't be possible. If you guys want to join, check us out over on thescenesnobs.com. We have links for everything. The Scene Snobs merch store is open. You can check that out too. Links again on the site. Or like, follow, and subscribe on all of our social media. Again, head over to thescenesnobs.com.